Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our series, 52 Authors, 52 Weeks. And today, I want you all to know that you are about to be blessed by today's author, Andrea Mason, author of Victim to Victorious. Hi, Andrea.
Hello. Thank you for having me, Dr. Lisa. How are you doing today?
I'm blessed and highly favored, as you stated in your book.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's a long time coming, but I am proud and honored to say that. Absolutely.
I love it. So we only have 30 minutes and we want
Okay.
our listening, viewing audience to read your book. I have so many books on my desk. My husband is like, this house is becoming a library. And I just like the process of reading and learning about others' journeys, learning about myself through others' journeys. So tell us a little bit about how you came to the conclusion that you needed to write this book, that you needed to tell this story.
Absolutely. So, what has happened is, during an early childhood, I was adopted from Colombia during the cartel. I came to America about 11 months old at 11 pounds. It's a pound per month. But I was blessed and highly favored to be welcomed with open arms in American family in the promised land of America. And although I didn't look like my parents, I endured struggles of abuse and bullying from my peers and the external society in its own. And so I decided at that point to make a shift. I'm going to be the face of change in mental health and, independence, authenticity, and integrity. So I delved into the degrees of social work and psychology, which then propelled me to step outside of the box and said, failed my whole life. I need to write this down because I need to show if you fail forward. And as you fail forward, your losses become lessons. And that has what propelled me alongside my coach, Les Brown, to accentuate and accentuate my voice. He said, Andrea, 11 pounds of greatness. They didn't know then, but they know now. And I am here, a living testimony that it's possible.
Oh, I love it. So first, I'm glad that you mentioned that your version of Victim to Victorious includes a foreword by Les Brown, because I actually have three of those books on my desk, one of which is actually yours. And so I'm glad that you called that out. But I'm also so grateful that you were brave enough to tell your story. I think so many of us are afraid to tell our stories for fear of being judged, for fear of just being embarrassed about the things that have happened to us. But what they don't realize is that you come out on the other side of it much stronger, and you're in a position to help so many others because you actually survived to tell the story.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to give back. I was always taught by my parents, Andrea, no matter what you do your best, do what you love, and do it right. And the best leaders, coaches, mentors I've had throughout my life remember where they came from. And that's what Les had done for me. He had resonated me. He said, we are kindred spirits, as he's an adoptee as well. And to have someone of that magnitude, that legend, that impact for decades, say that to you and instill faith and belief in you, why would I not accept that challenge? And that was the healing process that I had to overcome and achieve for my personal freedom. Not only sharing these trials and tribulations, but being vulnerable and putting it on paper to share with the world.
Vulnerability. I will tell you, when I wrote my book, Grow With Me, initially, I was actually recording myself just talking. And the first 4 to 5 chapters, I was talking, crying, praying, rejoicing, but most importantly, releasing things that I allowed to hold me hostage. And as I started to write one chapter after the next, I was releasing those things. But then I started getting excited about the thousands of lives that I was going to be able to touch by telling my story.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the release. That's the energy. A lot of individuals misconceptualize that being a victim is that of sadness, sorrow, and suffering. Although it is, one of the experiences I endured in writing this book was I had a lot of anger and toxicity embedded in me, not only towards the individuals, but towards myself, because you don't realize the wheelhouse that you're in, the pattern, the repetitive hamster wheel cycle of life, what I call and just saying, why is this happening to me? What is going on? I don't understand. And as I was writing it down, I was just like, I wasn't learning the lesson. I was just purely and merely existing. And that was the takeaway. You know, what connected me with Les Brown and his academy was when the world completely shifted and I heard on a social media platform, are you going through it or are you growing through it? That was my investment firsthand, first sight to take that leap of faith.
I love it. So was this something that you did during the pandemic or before the pandemic? Because a lot of folks had revelations during the pandemic.
Right. Yes. So I was actually working at a holistic wellness motivational center and I was at the peak of my life. It was awesome. I would go in early and stay late by choice because I was embodying how the body heals itself, what I need to invest and ingest to stay healthy and have a healthy mindset. So that was the recovery of the tragic loss of my mother in 2007 that put me into hospitalization 9 years later. So when I decided to have a mind shift, I changed my mindset in 2000, probably it was about 2015, 16 when I was hospitalized, but I didn't take full action until actually putting it into fruition around the changing times. Because like I said, I was working in a wellness center, doing everything that I love. And then the world took that carpet up under me. And I was like, well, now what do I do? So 2020 for me, for the change in the world was clarity. All right, well, I have all of this knowledge, wisdom, and experience. Let me use it for better and not be bitter. I mean, everybody's kind of trapped in their own way, in their own mind, in their own way, in their own mindset of what was going on. How do I escape it? So that's what propelled me to take everything I've been learning and researching and apply it. And that's what had happened.
I love it. And for those of us, not us, but in the listening audience, viewing audience that is not willing to go to school to learn how to overcome those obstacles, what would you say to someone who is on that hamster wheel and they don't see themselves being able to get off?
The biggest challenge that I would recommend, because it's not my life to lead, not my life to guide, to tell you what to do, but the greatest challenge, take a long look for about 3 to 5 seconds in your reflection of the mirror in silence. Some will cry, some will scream, some will just get elated because we are creatures of habit. We want to help everybody else but ourselves. And you know, you've heard the cliche, you can't pour into others from an empty cup. That's what I was doing as a social worker, as in the psychology industry, as the motivation and wellness, nutritional industry. I was always helping others. But who was I forgetting? My reflection. And what I did was I decided to take a moment and say, well, what do you want? Nobody's ever asked that. Or if they did, they weren't ready to stand there for a few minutes to really endure and embody your response. So for those of you, I'm not saying to go to school. I'm not saying to take these trainings. Take 3 to 5 seconds deeply, intentively, and pay attention to your reflection in the mirror. You will be amazed with the excitement.
That's so powerful. October of 2023, I actually looked in the mirror at myself and I realized that I had allowed myself to be held hostage by things. And because we only have 30 minutes, I won't go into the laundry list of things. But what I did do was decide that for the next 50 years of my life, I'm going to live in what I call the preferment stage. And I'm only doing the things that I prefer to do that bring me joy, but also allow me more time to take care of me. You know, during the pandemic, everybody talked about self-care. I've been doing self-care for a very long time because my mother embedded, that concept in us, but I changed what the self-care looked like, right? Massages and manicures and pedicures and, going to the hair salon. That's one form of self-care. But the self-care that I have adopted includes my morning meditation and hour of reading. And I put those things on my calendar so that, number one, I can hold myself accountable for actually doing them, but also to let me know these things are important to you, just like a client meeting, just like, something I may need to do with the grandkids. Those things are just as important, but I'm more important because if I'm not around mentally, physically, spiritually, emotional, I can't help those who I'm supposed to be helping.
Right. Right. And that's what the big misconception is. I have learned our health is our number one asset. If we don't have that, we are literally or eventually not here. And health includes exercise, nutrition, wellness, being happy, learning to smile. And I'm glad you mentioned that, doctor, because I've adopted my habitual ritual, what I call in my line of work, as gratitude attitude before my feet hit the floor and before my head hits the pillow. Why? Because that's a sense of realizing what you have right now. It was told by the greats that we have everything we need within. It's just a matter of discovering it. And that's what I've discovered. Wait a minute. I don't need to do all of these things and multitask. That's the biggest foe in life, is doing a million things at once. Give 100% effort in one thing, master that, and then do the next. Because I've learned in my career that sure, it's nice to have 1% from a million people, but wouldn't it be beautiful to have 100% of one person invested as you as they are in themselves? That's the gold mine, because what you give is what you receive. Paying it forward, being grateful, and understanding, hey, you know what? My life may be here, but somebody else is always higher or lower. Which way do I want to travel, and which way do I want to focus? Because they say, as the greats say in motivation, focus flows where energy goes.
Oh, I love it.
No, I always get that wrong because it's an alliteration thing. Focus flows where energy goes. So if you're focusing on something, your energy is going to gravitate to that. And how many times, I made personal investments and major shifts several years ago, over a decade or more. I put on the TV what I want. I put into my headphones what I want. I put the reading material in front of what I want. It's an investment. Investment just doesn't have to solely be financial. Mm-hmm. Investment, the most important and profitable investment, is in the investment of time that you give to someone else, for that's their present to you.
I love it. I love it. So one takeaway from me is I need to do a better job of, in the morning and at night, taking those moments for gratitude. So I'm gonna put a little note card. I'm a visual person, so I'm gonna put a little note card by my desk or by my nightstand to remind me to do that. Because I think oftentimes, and as you get older, right, you can't just jump out the bed like you used to.
Right? No.
So, as I'm rising in the morning and, at this menopausal age, sometimes the morning is 3:30 a.m. that I am up. And I'm okay with that because it's during those quiet morning moments that I have so many revelations. In fact, over the last couple of weeks, so many visions have come to me that it's actually a little scary because I'm like, wow, because I cut out some things in my life, it allowed what I should be doing to start to unfold and be revealed to me. Right. And I'm here for all of it.
And that goes into the mindset of what Marie Kondo talks about: make space for grace. And it talks about, we look at a beautiful home and we see a space. We want to fill it. We want to fill it. We want to fill it. Are we filling it just to fill it, or are we appreciating what we have? And as I've grown and matured in my years, my circle is getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And not only for respect of myself, but also the intention and attention I want to focus on the individuals I interact with. Are you investing in me, or are you investing in you? And I have to understand and respect the decisions. And one of the things that I speak about is the beauty that every single second in life, we have the opportunity as human beings to make a choice. Every single second. And you can make the right choice or not. But it's in the end, it's truly up to you. And that's the beauty of it. And if we can remember that every single day, we then choose to, what I call, press play, plan life according to you.
Oh, you are just dropping so many gems. I am sure I don't know if everybody does this, but when I watch podcasts, read books, I am taking notes. In fact, I said one of the things I want to do for February, March of this year is go through all the books that I've read in the last, let's just say 3 months, and actually just take all my notes and put them onto a different document because I highlighted and underlined things for a reason. And so I need to go back and remember, what the reasoning is. But, one of the experiences that I was blessed to have in December was to travel out of the country to Africa. And it was a trip that was 2 years of payment plans. And when I got off the plane and stepped into the country, I felt something different that I had not felt before when I've traveled. And I've traveled so many places.
Right.
And one of the things that I realized that in the US, we don't do a good job of taking time to smell the roses. Everything is just rush, rush, rush. I even think about when we were sitting in restaurants waiting on our food, and we were like, in 30 minutes, it's been 45 minutes, it's been an hour and a half. And they were just, like, it's coming, right? Just very relaxed and calm. And I realized that one of the reasons that they probably live longer is because they're not carrying all that stress that we carry in the US.
Right.
But I also realized how blessed we are. And a lot of times we think, oh, it's so bad in the US. But if you go to other places, you will realize how blessed we are.
Yes, and I've experienced that, and I'm glad you mentioned that because during my virtual journey, having spoken on every continent, I've realized that the US is pretty far behind in the ambition and the excitement to learn. I started this journey and I started speaking on different platforms, and I'll never forget, it was an African international TV and radio platform, and I was dubbed the Global Voice. That was one of the titles that I was received, and I was just like, oh my goodness. And here I am speaking in orphanages virtually worldwide and also getting interviewed by 8 and 10-year-olds in Asia, Africa. And I'm just like, this is amazing. They're yearning, pardon me, to learn. If we had that acceptance, appreciation for what is accessible to us in the United States, the resources and outsources would be that of abundance to the rest of the world, and nobody would be suffering. One of the biggest takeaways I've learned on this journey was patience is power. Learn to be patient because not everything is on our timeline. And as we mentioned before we aired, dreams don't have deadlines. They create destinations. Embrace the journey. We've heard it from Michael Jordan. It's not about the end, it's about the journey. And that's what we have to be mindful of, is the here and now and present. Sure, I talk about professional organizing and small business entrepreneurship of planning. But if you're not having fun, if not you're living your passion, then you're in prison. You're having someone else dictate your life. Think about Americans investing in a work week. Sure, they say it's 40 hours. Ladies and gentlemen, it's really 60 or 80 if you count the commute, if you count the mental health, the stress of traffic, workers, colleagues, and ministers. We have the ability to slow down life and pace ourselves to embrace the journey. And that's what we need to learn.
Wow. 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 When you talked about not embracing education, I've taught at the university level for 26 years. And I would say in the last 10 to 15 years, 90% of my learners are not taking advantage of the resources that I'm making available to them.
Right.
Such as I'll record a weekly mini lecture and I'll put it there and I'll track to see how many are watching. Might be 60 students in the class and only 5 watch it. Right. But then I see them on LinkedIn talking about it's so difficult to get a job and all these things that they didn't learn. And I often say, I taught it to you. You just didn't take advantage of what I provided to you.
Right. And that's what I talk about in my book, application. That's one of the stages. When I look at young individuals today, they are so equipped, and I'm not sure the exact stat, but I believe it's 30 to 15 seconds of focus time on a screen, whether that be a laptop, an iPad, or their phone. They're just constantly scrolling, not absorbing the information. And so what I spoke with, on a global platform for, helping teenagers and caregivers and mentors and coaches really understand it. And one of the components, the feedback that I got from the audience was just like, they never thought of it this way. So to give it in in a nutshell, to be mindful of time, talk to your students, your children, your next generations. Ask them what they want to do. Be bold enough and brave enough to listen and write it down and see and draw out or bullet point what that journey looks like. Then give them the opportunity, when available, to volunteer, do an apprenticeship or an internship. So they see hands-on the good, the bad, and the ugly of what's behind the scenes that they're not seeing as a marketing tool from their employer or the industry. After doing so, then they'll realize this is an investment. Not only is it an investment temporarily for your family, but a longer investment for yourself, an investment in your time, your skill set, your money, as well as your, patience to progress, because there is no such thing as perfection. It's just taking actionary steps persistently, punctually, and respectful manner towards progress. So we don't embody the ability to do volunteer work anymore, to do apprenticeship, to do internships. I've done all of that, and I'm offering that to individuals now. Hey, you know what? I understand you want to be a public speaker, or you want to go into the line of industry of social work or psychology, or be a mentor, or whatever it is. Let's sit down. Let's see what that looks like. What is the map that you believe it is? And let's marry it to the exact experience. Someone knows a guy or a girl who is in that industry. Be bold enough, like I did. Go to the best of the best and say, let me learn from them. Because if they are a good leader, like I had mentioned earlier on, they remember where they came from. They're not stepping on anybody's toes or sabotaging anybody else. They're like, it wasn't easy. I didn't get here overnight. I failed and failed and failed and tried and failed and tried and failed. So for those individuals aspiring to inspire, take action. Make the choice and conscious decision to do volunteer, to do apprenticeship, to do internship before jumping into the industry. And if you're already in the industry, find somebody who's in the next level where you want to be and grow. That's how you achieve success.
I love it. And I just want to add something that a lot of folks are not willing to do, which is reverse mentoring.
Right.
Our younger generation, they're so talented. When I think about my children and the things that they can do compared to what I could do, decades ago, it's amazing. But some folks think, oh, they're young, you can't learn from them. But in actuality, you can learn a lot from the different generations that we have to work with.
Right. And that was allowed me to open up starting this year to recruit mentors or internships, because I only know so much that can help them after the stages of where I've been, but I'm learning from them the trending tools, tips, strategies, and experiences that they're experiencing right now. Fortunately for me, didn't experience the obstacles, the identity, but in a different way. Now they have so much more competitiveness, misunderstanding, and not being respected, listened to, and understood. Those are the three common things that I've learned virtually traveling the world that everyone wants, because there's a thinner line than the magnitude of division that society wants to portray upon us across the waters and across the borders.
Oh, I love it. Well, we have talked about so many amazing things. I know that our listening, viewing audience is taking lots of notes, and I'm sure some are going to reach out to you for mentorship opportunities. When I look at your book and the transition from one topic to the next, self-awareness, right? Self-discovery, who am I? Facing your fears. I decided last year at the young age of 50 that I was going to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And that allowed me, as you say, to create my environment and surroundings that I wanted for my future self, as well as my past self. And when I tell you, I have this level of peace that I have not had in so long, it's actually scary.
Yes.
Because I'm saying, who is this girl?
Yep.
And my husband says quite frequently, I love her. I love this woman because number one, she's not trying to kill herself with all these entrepreneurial journeys and all these things that I was doing. When I read the book, The One Thing, that helped me realize that I did not need to multitask any longer. And people who know me, they're like, did you get to such and such? I'm like, not yet. I'm just working on this one thing right now. And I'll let you know when I'm ready to transition to the next. And I think that's something that America really has conditioned us to just working so hard that we're killing ourselves. And, when you're killing yourself internally, it doesn't manifest itself externally for a while. But when it does, it could really prevent you from realizing your full potential.
Yes.
And I know you're like me. We are about reaching that full potential and helping others reach it as well.
Absolutely.
So please tell our listening, viewing audience where they can get the physical copy of the book, because I want to make sure that they are placing those orders right now.
Absolutely. So the book is titled, this is an homage to my parents, this is my mom, Victim to Victorious, and it could be found on Amazon. And what the trick is, you have to type into books, scroll down, type in Victim to Victorious from Andrea Mason, and I will definitely provide a direct link, Dr. Lisa, so she can have that at hand. And it's just been an amazing experience. It's been an amazing journey that you don't have to live on other people's terms. You can do it with passion, purity, and most important, with patience. And what I've learned is follow your heart, not the hurt nor the herd, for success and joyfulness are on the other side.
I love it. And that aligns with chapter 8, live life on your terms.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. It's crazy because as I was writing it, and I also did the same thing you did. I did the audio read aloud in one of my edited versions. And I was just like, who's saying this? This is me. I went through this. Wow, good job, And it's a sign of release, vulnerability, as you mentioned earlier in the segment, Doctor, what you're capable of. When you put away the distractions, put aside the limitations of what other people think. I put up a meme a couple of weeks back. I said, you don't have to like me and I don't have to care. Not in a negative way, but I'm not going to let anybody else impact who I truly am, because then I would not be authentic or act with integrity.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. When I put out this call, 52 authors, 52 weeks, I went on faith that others would respond. But as I interview one author after the next, my life is changing. It's so exciting and scary at the same time, because I'm finding myself shedding tears of joy because I know that I'm doing what I've been destined to do. I've been preparing for this my entire life. And as a parent of a now adult child who doesn't speak, I recognize how powerful my voice is and the voice of others. And I'm on a mission to help everyone that's willing to listen exercise their voice, because we need each other to survive.
And I'd like to add to that, voice doesn't have to be audible. You can do it through music. You could do it through art. You could put pen to paper, or you can go on the athletic field. Just make sure you allow yourself to heal by feeling the emotions.
I love it. And one last thing before we go, I'll just let you know, I live in Chicago, so I am a Chicago Bulls Michael Jordan fan. And I watched all of those championships and have read so much about him and his resilience and just how he operated. I love it.
Yeah. And I did an excerpt. I quoted him because I loved this quote. Something like, limits are like fears, just illusions. I loved it. I loved it. Like I got chills. Yes, he said, fears are like limits, just illusions. And it's what you put into yourself of what you can excel. So yes.
That's a great place to end. Again, thank you so much for your time. Yes. And I'm excited about your future.
Thank you.
And the future of all citizens across the globe.
Absolutely. Thank you for investing in me in the book. And I want to extend my gratitude as a gift of appreciation to you and your audience, a complimentary connection with me to get you to choose to press play in life, plan life according to you.
I love it. Love it. And you know what? Okay. I know I said we were leaving, but I do want to let everyone know they have to check out your podcast.
Oh, yes. Yes. My podcast is Unleashing the Champion Within. And what people come to me about is, well, Andrea, I'm not an athlete. I'm not a chess player or anything like that. So a champion is of a champion mindset, which was the anthology I contributed to earlier in the year. And what the champion is overcoming your obstacles and realizing what I stated and learned this year. Anything you go through in life gives you the permission and ability to help others out. Create your own identity through life's adversities. And that's where you'll find your true passion and purpose in life. So yes, my podcast is up. I have 3 seasons. We are currently in 1 season on Spotify. Again, it's called Unleashing the Champion Within podcast. And I welcome your connections and to subscribe and to take a listen.
Thank you so much.